My name's Simon Brew. This is Thoughts on the Blues. Birmingham City 2, Hull City 3. The referees are way away from championship level. Hello, welcome back for the post-international break. Thoughts on the Blues, and this has been recorded the evening of the ending of Birmingham City's home run of 18 months undefeated at St Andrews, undone by Hull City, the Birmingham City 2, Hull City 3. I will say up front, for any Hull City fans who are coming to this video looking to do a bit of like gloat watching or just that kind of thing. Look, I've done it myself. Congratulations on your win. Well done. 3 points. Sod off. We're now going to talk Blues stuff. I'm one of the many who didn't get an invitation to the open house that Birmingham City are running later this month, I think it is. And I really love that one of the things that Nighthead's doing at Blues is these open houses where they bring people in and they outline the plans for the club and where things are. I chuckled a lot that this one was called Forward, which ironically enough is what lots of the fans have been shouting at the team for a reasonable number of games. Coming into this home game against Hull City, Blues had tricky games, really. If you look at the teams we were playing, we were sat with 3 wins, 3 draws, 3 defeats. Defeats against teams like Leicester and Stoke are right up the top, Coventry as well, but also 1 win in 7. I mean, statistics in the end don't lie. You can skew them any way you like, but we were struggling to shoot, we were struggling to score goals, and defence wasn't right. The whole set piece thing, I mean, not defending them well, certainly don't look like scoring from them. So a cauldron of problems for Chris Davis and his team to work with over the international break. I have to say, on the walk to St Andrews this time, notwithstanding the fact I tried a different car park and that turned into a disaster, not least on the way out, the ground felt different from, say, the game at home to Sheffield Wednesday. I felt on the way into St Andrews on that particular Tuesday night that there was just a slight edge to it, really. And there were many takeaways from the home game at Sheffield Wednesday, which was not our finest hour, but we scrambled out of there. Things like the Chris Davis song wasn't sung, that there was friction in the crowd, really. There were just these kind of like murmurings of discontent. In this sense, an international break did us an awful lot of good, I think, not least the team, but us as fans. It's just like, you've taken football away from us for a couple of weeks. It's just like, okay. And I felt from the off, St Andrews felt as good as it had since the home game at Ipswich, first game of the season. Ironically, I think it's the best we've played in the league since the home game at Ipswich, the first game of the season, but with a very different result. But the ground was great. It was absolutely bouncing. The atmosphere beforehand was terrific, and it's the first time in a few weeks it's all just felt unified, that even when we went behind in the game, the crowd didn't turn on the team, and it just felt like the team, the manager, the fans it was like being back last season when we were all sort of on the same page. And so that bit I was really, really, really enjoying. The team selection, obviously, we knew on the way in to the match, and I mean, not an awful lot of surprises really in the lineup that Chris Davis picked. I mean, he'd kind of given the game away in his pre-match interviews, his press conference, where he talked about how Leonard had been playing with him for longer than Tommy Doyle, and so Beadle had done enough against Wrexham to hold his place. Not much argument there. The pairing of Clara and Robinson at the back, well, all right. I mean, there's still the Phil Newman question, there's still the Phil Newman question. Iwata at right back frees up one of those holding midfield slots. Mark Leonard had done enough to justify having that slot again, so Leonard and Peck. And then I love seeing Keshi Anderson back. I know there's kind of a danger of recognising the player who was really good for you last season and expecting him to do the same again. But God, do we miss Keshi Anderson when he's not around? He's like the flying under the radar player, really. In that, when he got the ball on the wing or something like that, he'll just cut in, he'll just do something. He will be a constant threat. Anderson, Roberts, great. Behind Stansfield at centre forward. And just I looked at the team, I had a couple of thoughts. It's just like, well, Tommy Doyle must be wondering Presumably, Brightside Samuel wasn't quite ready. Phil Nyman, what does the man have to do? What does he have to do to get in this team? I mean, we'll bloody find out in a couple of days, won't we? But, I mean, what's gone on? Something isn't right there. That the guy who I watched in that home game against Ipswich, I was just like, by God, now I understand why we signed him all the way back in January. He smashed that game. He's had a wobble. And then there's the whole thing about can Clara and Nyman play as centre backs, and one's the whole left-footed thing. And then, as someone on Small Heath Elias has pointed out, it's just like Scott Dan and Roger Johnson. It's a long day. It's a long day. Hang on. Cheers. Both right-footers. The best centre-back pairing we've had. Are we reading too much into who's left foot, right foot? I don't know. Do we overanalyse this? I'm not a football manager. Play football manager the game to a reasonable standard. That notwithstanding. There's something there. We're going to come back to that. Boy, are we going to come back to that. It felt, though, from the off. I turned to the people I was sat with as the game got underway. And I mean, if you go back to the first 25 minutes against Sheffield Wednesday, I thought we were really, really good. And I sat there thinking, feeling positive about that until we took our foot off the gas. This game, I don't really think the foot came off the gas per se. I think we self-destructed, but I don't think that it was a case of our eye was off the ball, as it were. However, after battering Hull City for 10, 11 minutes, and let's not forget, their keeper was time wasting within the first 10 minutes. He was allowing the striker to run to him before he picked the ball up. I was just like, we're playing for a 0-0 here already. What's something going on? What do you know? The Blues defensive rearguard does its job. Go through, ball deflects off Jack Robinson. A bit unfortunate. I'll give him that. A bit unfortunate. And we're sat there just like, how the hell are we 1-0 down? Because in truth, arrogant football fans never come across well. And so I'm not, as a glass half full person, I have to confess, I'm not about to come across well. I looked at this game when we sat there. It's just like, we should win this. We should win this. If we're serious about being even a top 10 team, a home game against Hull when we've not been beaten at home for 18 months, we should win this. I mean, it's no disrespect to Hull. And, God, I remember the Hull game at the start of the Rooney era. It's just like Hull are one of those teams you write off at your peril because they'll just turn up and as they've done several times to us, cause you problems. It's like when you're in the Premier League and you come up against like Fulham or something like that. It's like Fulham, oh, that's a game. And then Fulham come and absolutely batter you as they routinely did. Hull, a write-off at your peril team. I will also say, no disrespect, Hull fans, the worst team we've played this season, and yet they beat us. So I'm going to come to that. But I've watched every match we've played, Port Vale perhaps, but they beat us as well. As low championship a team as I've seen this season. They might prove us wrong. They might go up. Don't know. You can only judge on what you see in front of you. I wasn't watching it with the benefit of replays. I was sat in block 37, and the first half I was having a great time. In fact, I mean, paradoxically, most of the game I had a great time. This was a proper championship match. You know, the Hull fans were noisy. They did the Villa song like 5-6 minutes in. You know, apart from that, Hull fans were noisy. Both teams looked relatively up for it. Blues particularly so. Been a lot of criticism this season, not least from me, about us taking our time to attack and the lack of urgency when we get to like the final third of the pitch. I didn't think that was a problem here at all. I thought we were pushing and pushing and pushing. In fact, Chris Davis said in his post-match interview about he wanted a lot more attacking intent. He got a lot more attacking intent. I thought we looked dangerous. I thought Anderson was causing problems. They had two men on Damari Gray right from the start. As soon as Damari Gray got the ball, he was right by us at block 37 lots of times. Two players just come straight in. He still, on the majority of occasions, managed to get past them, and we were looking to shoot. Don't forget all the shots that we had that were blocked by a defender, and you know, I think our statistics were like over 20 shots, and it's just like, yeah, that's the game that I watched. I thought there's a whole bunch of problems in there, but on the whole, we showed attacking intent for the vast bulk of the game, apart from a wobble after the sending off incident, and I really enjoyed watching us play. I thought we looked dangerous. And as much as we've still got the problem putting the ball in the net, if your name's not Jay or Stansfield, or it's not Lyndon Dykes past the 90-minute mark, I thought we were... I mean, you wonder how, if we played against some of the other teams we've not done particularly well against in the past 4 or 5 matches. How we done if we played like that? I thought the intent was great. I thought we looked, I just thought we looked good. I mean, Peck is a name that comes up an awful lot. In my on these videos, because I know he's divisive amongst some elements of the fan base. But here, I think Peck is an excellent team player. He looks after the ball. Here, he was looking to go forward regularly. I thought there were a couple of instances in the first half where such was Hull sitting back. Christoph Clara at the back was able to basically maraud to the halfway line and then put a ball in. I thought our low passes to that front four that we got going were good. I thought Gray looked dangerous. Roberts just looked sublime. Anderson, we were causing all sorts of trouble. And I mean, again, we were talking during the match that Hull had an element of bomb scare about their defence. As soon as the ball went into their box, which it did frequently, if they didn't get the initial clearance out, it just looked like we could cause some trouble. And in the end, we did. We got 1-0 down early, but even at that point, I just thought, this is different. This feels different. The ground feels different. The team feels different. And so the ball is beautiful. Peck finds space in the box. I thought he'd blown the chance. I mean, he took a little while to put the shot in. Nonetheless, gets the shot in. Pondering goal, parries it. Stansfield, boom, 1-1. Yeah. And I don't think anyone in the ground at that point thought that the result was going to be anything other than Blues getting at least 1 point, more than likely 3. And then things started to happen, didn't they? So, in terms of, there was an incident halfway through the first half where a long ball from Beadle, who I thought had a decent game, but I'll come to him. A long ball from Beadle, Keshi Anderson latches onto it and is pushed down in the box. Now, Anderson was probably looking for the penalty, but still, again, I've not seen the replay of this. It looked from where we were sat, it's just like, well, he might have been looking for it, but they still pushed him. It's still a penalty. Ref didn't give it. Okay, no VAR, on we go. There were a couple of instances as well of worry for our defence before the second goal went in, where Hull could just put a ball over the top. Do you remember when we played Leicester at home in the Rooney era, the famous Rooney era, and Leicester get 2 pretty much identical goals by just getting the ball over the top of the defenders, run through, boom. It felt a tiny bit like a rerun of that. There was a point where the ball was just belted over the top, and straight away Hull have got one defender and the keeper to deal with. Now, later on in the game, the Beadle incident would happen, where Beadle then, I mean, he looked a little bit pensive coming out and reading the moment, clatters the defender. I don't know who, again, not seeing the replay, I don't know who the defender was who went straight to the 6-yard box, but he stopped Beadle getting sent off. I mean, it was a fair cop yellow card, no argument there. Wasn't red because someone had the wherewithal to get in and cover as a defender. Laws of the game. It's just like, it's a yellow card. Beadle sort of got away with it, but still wasn't a red. I don't think it was a red. Then we had the moment, and I mean, it kicked off really with an awful tackle, and really, really horrible, nasty, unpleasant tackle on Patrick Roberts that just took him out from behind. And I mean, this is the bit where I've had a quick look at the Sky thing. Sky put a clip of it on, and I came back from the game, watched it. It's a horror tackle. I mean, there's an argument, at the very least it's yellow. There's an argument of red in it. I don't like chanting for players to get sent off and stuff like that, but it was horrific. And Roberts goes down, and the referee, who'd had a middling game, let's say a middling game, we didn't get the Keshi Anderson penalty, all right, a middling game to that point. It is the moment he lost control of the game, and God, did things go south fairly quickly after that. Not only does he not give the free kick, he doesn't read it. He doesn't read that there's outrage around the place. Doesn't stop it for a player clearly in distress. The retribution tackle comes in. You get a mass brawl. Does anyone watching, Hull, Birmingham fan, think that the referee ever had full control of the game again after that? And it just like, it was deer in headlights moment. There's a lot of conversation about the quality of the refereeing, and I have to say, after that moment, he was as bad a ref as I've seen. I don't like calling out refs, really. It's a horrible job. I've refereed games myself. It's not pleasant. And you make a mistake, you have to own the mistake. But by God, the number of mistakes that were being made, they were just piling up at this point. And, he'd booked 3 Hull players by half-time. But that Roberts tackle was just... I mean, go back and watch it. If you're, the Hull fans have all gone, clearly, obviously. But I've read a couple of comments online, just even from Hull fans, just the referee just wasn't good at all. And he really, really wasn't. After that moment, it's really hard when you see it, and then it's backed up by the video stuff and things like that. And everyone saw it. And then Hull go and score, don't they? Absolutely sod's law with their first proper attack. The first time they put us under pressure, Robinson own goal 11 minutes. The second time, Alex Cochrane, a brilliant player for us last season. I think you have to stop putting question marks because the cross comes in the 49th minute, 4th minute of added on time, and the amount of space the guy had to put the cross in. Cochrane's the nearest player, and Cochrane had a rasping shot in the game, and which Pandor tipped over. I don't think he had an awful game, but on that moment, you look at who's the defender who's supposed to have that. And again, I'm not Chris Davis. I haven't set up the plans or anything like that. It looked like Cochrane. Slater then heads it. Beadle at 9'3", stretches, can't get it. How the hell are we 2-1 down at half time? It just felt really... the Hull fans, euphoric, understandably so, because there's a WTF element to it. Where on earth did that come from? But there was more to come. God, there was more to come. So we head into the second half, and I confess I was still unnaturally confident for a Birmingham fan because I just didn't think Hull... they'd taken their chances, and absolute credit to them for that. But I just didn't think they were matching us. I just thought even like our weakest moments of the first half, I just thought we were very, very dominant and not for the first time, incredibly unlucky. So in the second half, what are our takeaways from that? I have a fundamental belief that a referee has a very, very difficult job. I do respect that. I do think that. I also think the job of a referee is almost not to be noticed. You cannot affect the outcome of the game because otherwise, that's not what you're there for. I suggest that the referee affected the outcome of the game here. I also think we self-destructed to a degree. So I don't think you can be in the Championship shipping 2-3 goals at home every match and expect to win. That's what 2 games on the run. We've managed to do that. So that we got to own that. We've got to do something about that. But you come to various moments. You come to the moment where, was it Stansfield who was just hacked down and he books the wrong player? He books the wrong player. Never mind that the assistants are mic'd up and there's all the communication. He books the wrong player. If he'd have booked the actual person who made the tackle, they'd have been off. Hold down to 10 minutes. Instead, for the last half hour, plus added on time of the game, of course, it's Blues that are down to 10 men. And deservedly so. Jack Robinson. Oh, heck. Hearing Chris Davis's interview on Radio WM afterwards was... I just had to agree with him. This is the day. This is the day where Ange Postecoglou has been fired, and again from the Nottingham Forest job, and his keeper just makes a mess of something and starts a snowballing effect and stuff like that. In the case of this game, Davis, in the post-match interview, was raging. And I ordinarily, I kind of respect the managers who do a Wenger, as in they protect their players, sort the shit out behind closed doors, and then move on. This had to be called out, and he was raging. So Jack Robinson, from where we were sat in block 37. At first, we had no idea what had happened. We saw the ref flash a yellow card, then a red card. And we didn't even know who it was for a while. And it took a minute or so before we realised, hang on, Robinson's walking off. Not content with scoring the opening goal, which I don't really blame him for. He's walking off. And It's only afterwards you find out, again on the radio, on the very, very long drive home, the traffic's getting worse, isn't it? That he gets booked, and then he gets booked again straight away for effectively gobbing off at the referee. That may, or had Robinson stayed on the pitch, Hull may still have won, but I bet you they wouldn't. I bet you they wouldn't. Instead, for the second time in 3-4 games, the guy loses his head. And if you look at his stats for Blues now, what is it? 4 matches played, 2 sendings off, 1 own goal. The statistics don't lie. He had a terrific game against Swansea. He wasn't too bad against Wrexham either. But how can we risk this? How can we risk this? We've bombed Cashin out of the team, and again, not unreasonably, for costing us basically 3 goals in a row. How have we had this really solid defence of last year and kind of come to this? So we've got Cochrane, I think, is wobbling, and we've not got left-back cover until Lee Buchanan comes back. I really like Lee Buchanan, but God knows what state he's going to come back in, and that feels like a gap. Laird can play left-back. He's out for, months, potentially. Then at centre-back, you've got Cashin, who's not going to play for us. I mean, the guy's, whatever you think of him, the guy's confidence must be absolutely shot. You've got Robinson, who, I was hearing people saying, like, the Coventry sending off, he was unlucky. He's not a 19-year-old. He knows the game. And if you go back to when he was playing for Sheffield United against us earlier in the season, there's an argument he was lucky to stay on the pitch then. This doesn't feel unlucky to me. This feels like a pattern. And Robinson walked off without looking, I noted, at his teammates. Just went straight to the corner. Didn't go towards Davis, just went straight to the corner. And Davis said, he's apologised to his teammates afterwards. Well, big shits. You've been sent off twice in 4 games. What do you know? You got sent off against Coventry. We lose control of that game. That's not entirely your fault. But the fact that there's only 10 players on the pitch, that's your fault. Here, same again. And after that, I mean, it's kind of a different game. And if you think about it, like in May, our centre-back choices, you had Clara and Ben Davis at the back. And I've talked about Ben Davis before. There must be a reason why we didn't get him. I'm not an in-the-know person. I just know that Clara and Davis was a brilliant combination. Then Bielik goes to West Brom to warm their bench, which he appears to be doing very well. Now, I didn't have an enormous problem with moving Bielik on. A good servant for us. I still remember the picture of him with 2 of his teeth just flying out after a challenge. But I mean, he wasn't our first choice in League One. I don't necessarily think we should have been leaning on him in the Championship. So I kind of understand that. The recruitment here, though, question marks, aren't there? Cashin and Robinson, if they're the answers, what's kind of the question here? And also, I'll tell you what the question is, actually. I'll do that annoying thing of answering my question. What the hell's Phil Nyman done? What has he done? Why is he not in that team? Why is he not in that team? Why wasn't he in that team today? Why wasn't he in that team against Wrexham? We don't know what goes on behind closed doors at the Blues. He might have nicked some donuts from the canteen for all I don't know. But we signed him in January. We patiently waited for this guy for months. He makes a superb debut against Ipswich. He has a game where he has a bit of a wobble, but I've got to tell you, a Phil Nyman wobble is not on the same page as a Cashin wobble or a Robinson wobble. I mean, it's just... We're away at Preston midweek. He's got to start. Robinson's suspended. What are you going to do? Put Cashin in? He's got to start. He has to start. Who else are you going to put there? Beadle? You're going to put Allsop in goal and put... Already it's like sometimes our team comes out and next to the other... certainly when we were walking out, we looked like the borrowers next to the whole team. Our team is not particularly tall. But he's got to start against Preston, hasn't he? And I do think it's a legitimate question as a fan, and I'm only a fan. I pay my money, I then go and do a job, and then I pay my money again, and then, I don't get it. I just don't get it. All that said, Robinson gets sent off on the 59th minute. We then have a wobbly period where Hull were looking quite dangerous. And then Hull sort of let us back in. I've got to say, I thought Hull's game management was awful. awful. There was just like I kind of respected the fact that they weren't doing the keeper going down thing and throwing themselves off and then rolling back onto the pitch for treatment, particularly. But their game management was just like they just kept letting us back in. And to be fair, I think a lot of that was by the fact that this Blues team was really going for him, and it was Blues for about 80% of this game. I thought it was Blues with the handbrake off. And there's been quite a lot of conversation about how cautious we are. And it almost feels like we've got two options, doesn't it? Chris Davies can play his defensive and ultra-tight version of Blues, and then we don't have shots, but we don't ship many goals. Or we can do the attacking one, and we don't score that many goals, and then we ship... And there's got to be a middle bit here. I don't know where it is, but I thought against Hull, we just kept coming at them. And Patrick Roberts, I just thought was great. Anderson was going for them. Great. Stansfield, again, I mean, as a centre forward, he's got to start there next time, hasn't he? He's got to start there. 2 goals today. One's a penalty, granted. But, I mean, he's the person you want there. The person most likely to get a goal. Because, God bless him, it ain't Kyogo, is he? Kyogo, one of the most graceful strikers I've seen in a Blues shirt for a very, very long time. But do you remember Christian Benitez and Chucho, and sadly missed and tragically died young? Hugely exciting player to watch. You wouldn't trust him in a one-on-one. Kyogo has a moment later on in the game, and the way he gets past the whole defence, no other player on the park, certainly no other striker could have done it. No other striker would have just poked it as wide as they did either. And I keep being told Kyogo's going to come good. And I do sort of believe it. But by God, that lad needs a goal. He is an exquisite footballer and a frustrating finisher of a football. I mean, I don't think there's any way around that. I did think the way Hull was setting up. I mean, we were talking in the stand. It's just like if we were playing Middlesbrough with 10 men, look what Coventry did to us. They'd have just picked us off. Hull didn't. I mean, they had a couple of corners and stuff like that, but we were just wave after wave of attack. We really wanted it. And also, the crowd didn't turn. The crowd saw that the team was annoyed, had been wronged really by the ref, and was pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing to the point where you get a corner where Beadle's up there and has a brilliant header miles over the bar. It felt like about the 7th or 8th time that Hull broke as we were pushing before they finally managed to get one in the net. And a lot of the credit also goes to Beadle, actually, who a couple of, again, as he did against Wrexham, a couple of really good shots. As a shot stopper, he's above Allsop, isn't it? In terms of distribution of the football, he is below Allsop. But also, I mean, he's a young keeper. And so I agree with the one or two who's just said he's an odd signing. Was he kind of what we needed? Would you get him in on loan at that point? Don't know. But I think, I think I've seen enough of it. I can't really blame him for the goals here. I've seen enough of him for him to warrant the shirt again. But if you could mix his shot stopping with Allsop's distribution, that's probably the keeper we need. As it stands, I don't think we've quite got the Championship keeper nailed, but then we're not got the Championship defence nailed either, have we? So, so we push forward. Hull get the 3rd goal. We still push forward. We get what you could politely call the sympathy penalty, as Lyndon Dykes goes down. Soft penalty. It felt like a kind of levelling out kind of thing. But by that point, the game had been knackered, and the tone of it had been changed by the brawl and, how do I put it delicately, not great decisions. And the mistaken identity one is just staggering, isn't it? I mean, all I can do is just take another drink because I can't throw you any more insight on it. Just entertain yourself for a second. No, it still makes no sense. But a nice drink. And then, I mean, Davies, to be fair, yeah, I've got some sympathy for Chris Davies on this. I love that the Chris Davies song was sung. Whatever you think, you back the manager, you back the team in front of you at that point. You just got to. And I know there are question marks about him. I'm not asking those questions just yet. But I do think league tables don't lie. I'm going to come to that in a second. What I also think is the recruitment question is, I mean, it's paramount, isn't it? It's just like, why have we got Jack Robinson and that temperament in a team that's been set up in a very different way? What are they seeing that we're not? Was it a kind of, we can't get Ben Davies, we need someone experienced, I don't know. And I've seen enough that Jack Robinson can be a very, very good defender. Again, against Swansea, I thought he looked really good. But, I mean, it's a big but. Kyogo, silky smooth, wonderful skills. But if you're not putting the ball in the net, in the end, you're just like, okay. Marvin Duksh, again, against Swansea, was it? Really good. But have we bought an injury-prone striker? We bought him injured. And, I mean, if we get a run of 20 games at some point, that would be terrific. But at the moment, it feels a bit like Ethan Laird's first season with us, where the injuries kind of knackered it a little bit and took the momentum out. Lewis Koumas, don't know. I mean, he looks promising. I still don't think there's an end ball. I've not seen evidence of that. I think he can take players on now. I still think he looks a little bit slight. I mean, I'm not preferring him in the team to Anderson or Gray at the moment. I'm not seeing much that would convince me otherwise of that. But again, he's young. You know, I remember Luke Harris last season. He came in for a little bit of backlash, but then he would pop up with a goal. So Koumas might be second half of the season. I don't know. Beadle, I've talked about, and you're looking at the. I looked at the team, and I don't know. The Tommy Doyle question is next to the Nyman one, isn't it? And as much as I think Mark Leonard did really well today, actually, and to see Leonard get 2 consecutive games, he's got forward intent. I think it's worth giving him a run. But if I was Tommy Doyle and I was Tommy Doyle's agent, I'd be asking questions. If I was Phil Newman's, I'd be in the manager's office. Just what have I done? Have I kidnapped your kids? What? I just don't get it. I will say before I round this up. Notwithstanding the result, I just smashing time at the match. It always helps when there's not been a 3 o'clock kickoff at Blues for a while, because then you appreciate just how good they are. I thought it was a terrific championship match. You know, there was a brawl, there was a sending off, there's penalties, there were goals, there was controversy, there was no VAR, and it's loads of what I love about the championship. I also think it was our best home performance in the league since Ipswich. I thought we were getting back to that level of intent. But we just can't ship this many goals. We can't self-destruct. And somewhere, the solution to this leaky defence has got to be found. Because let's face it, we've changed every facet of it apart from Clara. And Clara ain't coming out of my team. He's the one bit that just like, yeah, he stays. But we've changed everything else. And it's just like, I don't know what the answer is. The recruitment might not have been right here. It certainly doesn't look like it's been right. And so I think, I mean, we've got 2 away games just over the next week. We've got, just as we had just before the international break, 3 games in 6-7 days. And you look to get 6 points from things like that. Does anyone think we're going to get 6 points from these next 2 games? I don't. I think if we go and attack an away game, we could come away with a win. But, I mean, go back to the first half against Wrexham. When was the last time we attacked an away game in the first half? Leicester, I guess. But I don't know. I just think I fear the handbrake might come on. And here's the reality check. Again, league tables do not lie. However unlucky I feel we've been today, and however I feel we've not had the rub of the green in certain games, stuff like that, we've now won 1 game in 8 matches. And you can't blame that in the end on a referee or on bad luck or on a weird decision or a deflection. We've won 1 game in 8 matches. And it ain't right. You know, we should have done more. With the squad that we've got, we should have done more. We currently sit in 17th place in the Championship after 10 games. We have got 12 points from 10 games. That, folks, is, I mean, the 17th place form. If it gets worse, it's relegation form. And I don't think this is a relegation squad at all. But you look at it at the moment, and the statistics are fairly damning. And in the end, you get to the end of the season, as you all know, and no one said, I mean, we got relegated from the Premier League with a points total that no one's got relegated from the Premier League with since. Does anyone care? No, because the damning thing is you get relegated from the Premier League. That's it. We are in 17th place in the table in the Championship with the squad that we've got. It's a better squad than last time we were in the Championship. I think it's the best squad we've had in the Championship since Chris Hughton's day. And it ain't good enough, is it? I think some of the football's been good. I think some of the tactical decisions have been odd. I go, I'll sing, I'll shout, I'll bat the manager. I don't think it's knee-jerk moment. But I do think we've got, 3 or 4 games coming up to the next international break. And I think if we're still roughly there or thereabouts, I don't think St Andrews is going to be as nice a place as it was today. Hopefully, we won't see that ref again for a while. Hull, take your 3 points. You know, fill your boots. Don't blame you. I would in your boot. I certainly would in your shoes. We go away to Preston midweek. It's just like, how many of us can predict what Blues is going to turn up? Who's going to be in the team? And if all the players will be on the pitch at the end. Let's just hope one of them who is Phil Nyman.